Hey y'all, it's Nicole. You don't care that much. Let's move on. Bridgerton, which sounds like a name you say when you're making up a person on the spot, is a Netflix period drama that came out about a month ago.
This is what they have been trained for since birth. Which young ladies might succeed at securing a match?
You've always amused me, Miss Bridgerton. Ever since I was a schoolboy and you were...
Oh, but 5?
My friends described it to me as Gossip Girl in the 1800s and a lot of unnecessary sex. As someone who's never early to things, I admit that the only reason I've already seen it is because I just wanted to be included. Sue me. I normally don't watch a lot of romance-heavy shows because to me they can feel cheesy, but I found the show very bingeable. Although I don't really consider myself that easily bothered, parts of it still made me feel uncomfy. That word makes me feel uncomfortable. Bridgerton is based on a novel series called The Duke and I. It's set in Regency London and follows Daphne Bridgerton, who is the eldest daughter in a rich family, as she enters the marriage market and attempts to find a true love match. Clearly she meets him, and this is so obvious I don't think this merits a spoiler warning, but she meets him in the form of Simon Bassett, who is the Duke of Hastings. In the background of all of this, there is an anonymous writer who publishes a gossip column exposing the scandals that are going around them. So what is the part that bothers me? There's been a lot of attention directed toward a specific rape scene that occurs in Bridgerton, but for me, it's not just that. Of course, there already is a lot of rape portrayed on TV. Obviously, no one is saying that rape is okay, but beyond the show's depiction of it, the show's treatment of the aftermath is really what makes the show's portrayal questionable. Basically, I made this video to discuss what happened after that rape scene because I haven't really heard that discussed as much. The scene in particular will be addressed, of course, so if you're uncomfortable with that, here's your warning. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Whether you have already watched Bridgerton or have not yet and just want the tea, hopefully there is something for everyone. I won't reveal who the anonymous gossip writer is, but otherwise you probably will be spoiled. There are a few plot lines going on at once, but for my purposes, we're just going to focus on Simon and Daphne's relationship. Daphne, as mentioned before, has spent her entire life preparing to marry a well-off guy that she also loves, conveniently, and make some babies. On the other hand, it's made abundantly clear to us through some really unsubtle backstory flashback clips that Simon is the damaged guy trope. If I may exaggerate, he's that guy who's like, oh, no, babe, I've been hurt before and I can't treat you like a human being. I can't be with you because I love you and because you deserve better. The ultimate tension point, though, is Daphne wants to have kids and Simon doesn't. But though he says it like, I can't have kids, so she assumes he's incapable of it. Basically, after taking a convoluted Wattpad fanfiction level chain of events to get there,
I assure you, I'm anything but interested in you.
If this is to work, you must appear madly in love.
it's a long story, but I guess you're here. Okay, fine. They fake a relationship, as you do. They get caught kissing before marriage by Daphne's brother, as you do. And Daphne's brother challenges Simon to a death duel to avenge Daphne's honor as a ruined, unmarried woman. As you do. Big Hamilton vibes here. But right before Simon and Daphne's brother have a chance to shoot each other, Daphne runs right through them on a horse and announces that she will marry Simon so that he doesn't have to die. So they marry. They're super happy. They have tons of sex. Likely unrealistic since she presumably was a virgin beforehand, and we all know that first times are unspeakable horrors. Anyway, he uses the pull-out method so she doesn't get pregnant, but she's none the wiser because she has no idea how babies are made and thus just assumes that he has some condition where he's infertile. At some point, she gets suspicious and she asks her mom how babies are made. She then decides to conduct her own little experiment, and so here's the warning, controversial rape scene. Basically, the next time they have sex, she gets on top and forces him to come inside her. It was particularly awful to hear him say, wait, in that small voice. And then he says, how could you? Which, man, that shit hurt me. But then Daphne flips it on him, saying,
How could I? You lied to me.
I did not lie.
Trusted you. Cannot and will not are two entirely different things. You chose to lie to me.
I did not lie. I thought you were prepared. I thought you understood how a child came to be.
So at this point, my discomfort is definitely growing. The days after, they cold shoulder each other, which is understandable. But then we get sympathetic portrayal after sympathetic portrayal of Daphne. Her mourning, her grieving after that night didn't result in her getting pregnant, which, was her last chance. Like, we were supposed to feel sorry that she hadn't got what she'd wanted after, tricking him that night. There was zero recognition on her part, or really the shows, that she had done anything horrible. But in the interest of being balanced, I read some defenses of Daphne and want to break those down. Some say that the novel The Duke and I was worse in that her act was more premeditated, whereas the Netflix one was more seen as spur of the moment. I don't really find this point very convincing because she seems pretty in control of that situation. Afterwards, she's just like, you lied to me, and there's no recognition or regret afterward anyway. Others point out that they both screwed up pretty badly, that Simon lied to her, and that was pretty inexcusable. But this argument relies pretty heavily on the assumption that Simon was taking advantage of Daphne's naivete to prevent her from having children.
I trusted you more than anyone in this world, and you took advantage. You seized an opportunity, and so I did the very same.
While not impossible, is there actually evidence of this scheming? I can't disprove it, but I think it's also possible that he didn't know how little she knew.
I thought you were prepared. I thought you understood how a child came to be.
Or he just didn't think through the implications of it, or just was ignorant. I think there's actually more evidence of the latter, that he didn't really intend to use her ignorance against her. Yeah, he had told her about masturbation in an earlier clip and thus could have inferred that she didn't know anything about how babies were made. But that is a lot of assuming. Maybe she had asked someone by now. Like, how was he supposed to know? Also, my personal opinion is he didn't perceive an appreciable difference between can't and won't, because to him, mentally, he just could not have children. And most importantly, he made it very clear from the very beginning that children were not part of his plan. You could say that Daphne didn't know whether he thought he couldn't have them, but still wanted children. But when you see her right after the rape scene going like, oh, you lied to me, it's more likely that she already knew he was pulling out because he didn't want children and she overstepped and forced him to try. Else, why would he use the pull-out method at all? But back to the you said I was enough.
You were the one who insisted on this union. You told me I was enough.
That was before I knew you.
Even though Daphne might say that that was before she knew he didn't want rather than couldn't have children, it does bring to mind our one true god Daniel Sloss. He has the stand-up that is notorious for breaking up relationships, and the idea is that if you can't accept someone as they are at the moment, then you should not be with them. You can nudge them to change for the better in your eyes, but if you can't accept them before and without that change, then you're better off alone, because change is a very personal thing and you can't really force that. So now we get to the part that bothers me with a capital B. Daphne finds out the extent of his trauma from his abusive father and vows essentially to fix him with the power of love. Nothing matters as long as we love each other, some bullshit like that.
You stay and we get through this together. If you do this, if we do this, then
nothing else will matter.
And then voila, they have children and all is well. So let's break this down. First, it's portrayed that not wanting children is A, rooted in trauma, or B, something to be cured. I admit that it bothered me because I personally don't know if I want to have children, but I'm trying to be as objective as possible. It really is possible that not wanting children is an effective trauma. Part of my reasoning is that there are just so many ways to fuck up your child, and that's a lot of pressure and hurt that I'm not sure that I want to sign up for. Parents are just people who are doing the best they can, but that doesn't mean that there aren't any unintended consequences. There are also many other reasons. Some people don't want to get pregnant. I mean, childbirth sounds like hell. Some people have environmental reasons. Some people are asexual. Some don't have the instinct for children. Some just don't like children. Others feel like they just want their life to be theirs, and once you introduce a child into the mix, then it's like your self, your independent person, disappears. I don't think you owe it to anyone to explain why you don't want to have children, as long as you make it clear your overall stance to a partner. Children don't have to be the default. At this point, it just seems like I made this video to say, man, can we not just leave people alone? Okay, this video is getting long and I've talked about like 1.5 things, hopefully deeply. Other than that, I hope that this video made you at least a little more thoughtful about the series and added a different perspective for you to look back upon the series or begin watching it. All right, see y'all.